Hello and welcome to the Watermark Water Cooler. I'm here with Aaron. Aaron, welcome to the cooler.
Thank you.
Aaron, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I've been marketing for 4 years. Mostly was in-house marketing. Now moved over to an agency role, and I've always loved the B2B space. And have been in design development and putting campaigns together has kind of been my favorite thing to do as part of marketing.
And you just ran a marathon.
I did just run a marathon. Yes.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, it was a good time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was your time?
4:21.
It's pretty good.
So,
It's pretty good stuff.
yeah.
With the acronym SOUP that we all kind of know about, SEO, ABM, one of those, CRM, what does ABM stand for?
Yeah, so ABM stands for account-based marketing. And it's great for B2B. There's another acronym for you, B2B marketers. And what it's done in the past few years, especially with this new marketing technology out there, is take sales teams and marketing that used to be kind of fractured and make it into like one cohesive kind of package that really goes after who your clients are going after.
Yeah. Who does ABM marketing target?
So ABM marketing is going to target your key accounts, whoever that is within an industry that you're targeting. You might have a certain service that applies to one business in a different way that it applies to another. So account-based marketing will personalize your marketing communications towards whichever account you're after.
So just as we're talking about this a little bit, give us an example of what like an ABM campaign is, because I think that helps somebody maybe understand what that means.
Right. So an ABM campaign takes into account each stage of the buyer journey, starting with the awareness stage. So you have like your set of accounts that you want to go after, and you want to let your accounts come to you rather than you going to it and like selling them, causing them to turn away. So we'll get into more of this later, but like you want to start with the targeting.
So what I was gonna like an example of like an ABM campaign, like something that we've done in the past is like we put together a very specific box that was a physical thing that had very specific items inside that box that were like specific for an executive that we knew, went to a certain alma mater, and we put like a baseball cap in it. We knew they like golf, so we put like some golf tees inside of it. So it's like very, very super targeted to that person. And it's not casting this like really wide net of like your typical, Google campaign or whatever. It's very like, hey, we might be targeting a certain group of people, but it's like an entire industry maybe, instead of like a very specific person.
Yeah. And that brings up another acronym for targeting that certain group of people. What you start with is ICP, or an ideal customer profile. And that's defined by like company characteristics, like how many employees they have, what's their revenue, what's their funding, where regionally they are. So that's box number one. And within that box, you want to define each of the personas that you might be selling to within those companies, within your ideal customer profile. So you're after not only companies, the accounts, but the people that make up them. And because that's who you're gonna gain attention from.
So now that we've kind of identified the target audience, how do we communicate with them?
Right, so there's a lot of ways of communicating with them, especially through online omnichannel, like social media, paid media, or just your website. And first and foremost, you want to time out your message effectively. So that's comes from understanding each stage of the buyer journey. If they're a new account, you'll want to focus on content that's most likely to serve them and position yourself as like a thought leader. So you're not giving them a hard sell right off the bat. So things like blog posts or a white paper that's relevant to them in their industry that'll, guide them through something that they might have a problem with right now with their company is really going to be valuable to them. And then, the next stage in target messaging would be the prospecting stage. So whether it's inbound or outbound marketing, once that lead is marketing qualified, that's when you'll want to have a bigger conversation on how something that serves them applies to what you're doing at your company.
As we're talking about messaging to people, how specific should that kind of ABM content be? Because we just talked about like, hey, there's a difference between just a normal inbound campaign that might target a bigger swath of the market. How do we make sure we're not too targeted, or maybe we are? What's your opinion on that?
Well, I think it's good to cast a big net and go after just the whole company, so that even if it's a entry level position person that you're after, the more people within an account that you're attracting attention from is better, because they could always go to their manager with something that they saw online from your company. But ideally, you do want to get into finding those decision makers, and while you're prospects in the prospecting or new stage, that doesn't quite matter as you're gaining awareness. It's when they're sales qualified that you'll want to focus your attention solely on the decision makers or champions of your ABM marketing campaign.
Yeah. So we talked about a lot of things there, different types of content. What did you mean by that, or what's important about to create that content for account-based marketing?
Well, it's important that you engage across all channels that you have running. So I kind of mentioned it earlier with social media, paid media, and really having a cohesive message across all of those is going to be good and serve you well. Email marketing is a great way to personalize your message. So that's a big piece of ABM marketing is, finding the values that your one target has, which might not match another value of another target, and making that the sole focus point of a message to them in an email. So there's a lot of ways of personalizing that message. It's just finding those channels that work best.
So we just talked about some like strategy and how to do this, but now there's this execution piece and the marketing stack you might need. What is your advice there?
Yes, there's a lot of marketing technology out there. First and foremost is the CRM, which we talk a lot about here at Watermark, is the customer relationship management system. So this is what your sales team relies on, and this is what you can use to automate in the marketing, which brings us to another marketing technology, which is the marketing automation platform. A lot of them couple CRM and marketing automation platforms together. And what that'll do is use all of its APIs to touch like your social media channels, your email, and even your paid advertising, all into like one hub, so you can monitor everything from there. Another thing you'll need is obviously a website. So a CMS, another acronym, would be ideal for that, whether it's WordPress or a headless CMS like Contentful. And then there's all those channels that we mentioned earlier with social media, organic through blog posts, advertising for paid media, so things like that. But beyond all these core technologies, what I'd really suggest is investing in a business intelligence tool. So there's a lot of tools out there that will scrape all the data that's out there on LinkedIn or just websites from everywhere, and actually give you people's names, titles, emails, so you can go direct to them or enter them into a targeted campaign. And having that enriched data of who you're going after is really going to help all of that targeting.
And we use to do that
Apollo.
Yeah.
So that's a great tool. Zoom Info, I know, seemed like it was like the first one, and used to be that sales people would use it just for when they're doing cold calls, but now marketers have gotten into like the big data of it, so they can put it together like a really targeted campaign. So it's a little creepy, a little big brothery, but it's getting people the marketing message that you want sent to them.
It doesn't have to be creepy, because I think the kind of answer to that is, again, we're in theory, delivering better content to the right person instead of it being blasted like all over the place. We're actually going, okay, we know this type of person needs this type of content. And we truly believe in that inbound methodology and education first. So, if people follow that, it's not really necessarily a big sales pitch. It's an education of why you need to do something to help your business to grow. So, and if that happens to be like for us, it happens to be marketing or inbound marketing or whatever it may be, well, let's have a conversation. Maybe we're a right fit for you.
At the end of the day, you're trying to build trust with your lead to get them to convert. That's always been true for marketing, and especially now with being able to have that data to go after them, you need that trust aspect in order to go through the whole buyer's journey.
Aaron, how do you optimize and measure for success with ABM?
Yeah, so there's a way of looking at it where you can look at it two ways, with qualitative data and understanding who you're going after, who the contact information is. So are you reaching the right people? And how many people at that one account or company that you're after are you reaching? And who's becoming sales qualified in the process? So a lot of that's qualitative and looking at job titles and results of campaigns of people who have converted through your lead forms. And then the other component is the more quantitative data, I guess, would be the conversion rates. So through each stage in the buyer's journey, from awareness to just making a decision on to go with you to converting to an actual customer, each of those conversion rates can be measured to track success of your campaign. And it's likely that each of your campaigns will be pushing leads to progress through each of those stages. So that's a great way of understanding the effectiveness of each of those campaigns, is to break them up into little different conversion rates. Your sales team might be looking at one deal closed or not closed, but in marketing, you have to understand the stages of building that trust with the target that you're after.
Yeah, I do think that one thing with ABM that helps with measuring success is you have a little bit clearer of a goal, maybe, and understanding of exactly what you're targeting. So success and failure is probably a lot easier to see than with a typical inbound campaign that's, again, got a little bit more broad, and maybe you have to dig in the data a little bit more. But I do like the great conversation of it doesn't end with, okay, our salesperson had a conversation with somebody. It's well, where are they in the different phases of closing? Where even after they're closed, how do we continue to make this client really happy and enjoy our brand and everything we're about, so that they can refer new clients to us. Okay, to wrap things up here, do you have a tip that you'd like to leave people with about ABM that is you've found this successful?
I would say, I've always looked towards conferences and trade shows, and not necessarily that you have to go to them, but it's a great way of understanding an industry and who the players are within that industry. And also it's important to understand that with ABM, it doesn't stop once they become a customer. The nurturing process for your leads and your customers never stops, because there's ways of, becoming a customer of your customer will allow you to learn their business, which will help you gain other customers. And there's always word of mouth marketing, so that if you're working within a major player, within a big industry, they know who their friendly competitors are, and they can easily refer you and be an advocate for your brand.
Yeah, totally. Well, thanks so much, Aaron, for being on the water cooler with us today. As always, if you have content that you would like to hear from us about agency life or anything else that we do here, please leave a comment. Please subscribe and like this channel so that we can continue to make content for you all. Thanks so much for your time, and we'll see you next time.